I do have a couple of memories and a couple of anecdotes that I can share. I think almost everyone who remembers Ammumma remembers her very fondly as someone with great affection for not just her immediate family, but even a wider circle of family and friends. Many of whom with she managed to stay in contact when it was much more difficult than it is in these times. But I think one additional aspect that sometimes it comes less into focus is that she was also a very independent and self-assured and confident person, and some of that actually manifested very early on in her life. And I do have a couple of pictures here, and I'll put them up. Just a sec. Yeah. So. Can everyone see the screen? You can, right? Okay. Yeah. So I've just put in a couple of slides and a couple of pictures of Ammumma. You can see that she was quite active from an early age. The middle picture is some kind of a ceremony that used to take place. I think onset of puberty, and then there's one more picture where I guess my mom is a couple of months away from being born. But if you look back, and for those of you who don't know, I think when Ammumma met or when Ammumma married my Ammachen, she had been a widow for a couple of years. She was married, right out of high school. In fact, even before her results came, so she would have been around 19 because she had some gaps in her education. And she married someone who was part of the Vetteth family and was married to him for a couple of years. But during that time, she didn't stop her education. In fact, she went ahead, did her inter, then did her graduation in Palakkad, then went ahead and did her MA in history in Pachepas in Chennai, in Madras in those days. You can see from the picture on the top right, a very male-dominated class with Ammumma there at the bottom right. You can see her at Pachapas on top. Seems like she was quite the center of attention. And there are other pictures. The picture at the bottom right is further on when she was in a play. But it all goes to show that she managed to hold her own, and she was very self-driven, and she continued to focus on things that were important to her even after marriage, which was something that was quite unique for someone in those times, I would say, even for someone in our kind of families, which were relatively progressive. Of course, that particular gentleman who she was married to, unfortunately, passed away. Without which, I guess we wouldn't have all been in this call together. But after that, of course, a dashing naval officer who was on the hunt for a bride, who had gone to England for training, came back. He was, of course, of very progressive values, so I don't think the widow thing mattered at all. But he did definitely want someone who was personable and who spoke English and would fit in with the naval kind of setting, naval officer kind of setting. And I think Ammumma ticked all those boxes with aplomb. So I remember in the Krishnapuram dining room mock ballroom dancing with Ammumma. So these are probably things that she did in real life in Bombay. So just goes to show that she was able to acclimatize and step outside her comfort zone, but do things that mattered to her throughout most of her life. And I think later on, many of us will remember that she was so active in the Indian Women's Association in Calicut as president, vice president, treasurer, so many important roles, active in social causes. Just goes to show that she was so self-driven and confident and self-assured, and these are aspects that are also very important dimensions to her that I thought I would highlight a bit. In my case, so I was very pleased to see that 9 of you got the answer on comic books right. That love for comic books stems actually from a very early stage in my life, because when we were in the US, Ammumma used to send Amma Kathas to me so that I would have some kind of a connection with India and Indian culture at those times. And these are all things that have impact well beyond their intended timeline. And I also remember coming back when we came back to India. We had just come back, stayed a couple of days in Calicut, then gone to Nellapur and come back, and she had this dinner organized where there were all sorts of Indian goodies, and she was pretty sure that I hadn't seen many of them. So she took me around and said, "Idu gulab jamun, idu." And she takes me to one. This thing said, "Tairu vada." I said, "Yuck." Because probably a lot of you don't know, but Tairu and I are not mutually compatible. Of course, she was very crestfallen when she heard that expression from me. And I felt it would be much more authentic if I could reassure her in Malayalam that it didn't really matter, because there's so much else over there. So I racked my brains, and finally I got, it's Sarilya, because I could understand Malayalam perfectly, which samsarikkan velli buddhayirunnu. So I racked my brains, and it's Sarilya. But then she had stopped apologizing by then, so unfortunately that didn't work. I think she had a understated but an active sense of humor. I remember Inchage trying to get her to say Santa Claus, because she would insist on saying Santa Claus. And Inchage would say, "Amme da Sant for you, Sant for you, Santa Claus for you, Santa Claus." And I'm sure she was pulling our leg. She was. She had so many different dimensions to her. I remember the day she passed was actually the day after my 18th Nala birthday. So it was on my Nala was on March 27th of that year, and it was a Sunday. I went back to Kannur and expected to see her the next week. I was staying with Arunetan at that time, and so I came back that day from class. And he broke the news to me, and I will always be grateful for how supportive he was in those days. And very kind of him. We traveled together back to Calicut, and I do think that she passed well ahead of what her normal lifetime should have been. But that sense of independence that I think she would have experienced was also impacted by her health condition, and that may have also been a contributing factor to her early demise. But I think she would have been very, very happy to see how we managed to stay connected in this kind of a forum, as well as to see those who she had not met but would have been so happy to meet, like the entire Viram crowd and Rishabh and Anaira. And so, I think she would have been very happy to have been here. I'm sure she's in spirit with us here today. So that's it from me. You can see quite a romantic picture. Amachan with Ammumma, probably a honeymoon picture, and the other one is also the same couple. And this one is, some of the grandchildren. I couldn't, of course, get all of them, but you can see Ashu Storuna over there on the left with Ammumma in the background, and then there's Adit and I on the right. So just a couple of pictures that we pulled together.